want this recorded, we can record it, because I'm going to say what I think anyhow. The bottom line is always understand I'm from the United States. So as I use language or I use perspectives, they may not always be common and shared based on historical background of where I'm from and where most of you are from. Okay, so if I refer to someone as a dictator, or if I talk about politics in any way, don't take that personally. And there should never be a division of us because we have differing opinions of issues. Okay, you know, from the perspective of the manner in which I was raised. Okay, anybody that enforces authority through force rather than through an elective process, okay, falls into a category that we use in the West a certain word to describe. All right, that may not be in keeping with the feelings of others for the period of time that they were actually in power. Okay, so it's not meant to be as a bad thing. I'm just using words as I'm trying to communicate in English. All right, what I'm trying to say. So the point of that was that you can't really force people. Okay, and so that ultimately doesn't work. It's just like he couldn't parentally tell the children, take the medicine, and out of his mercy, force them. Okay, they had to grow on their own. Then there was a question earlier when George just came in, you know, about how to determine what is a benefit and what is not. Okay, when something occurs in your life, is it a benefit or is it really actually an obstacle? And the quick answer to that is that no one other than the individual experiencing the event is capable of making that determination because it's their cause that will ultimately define that. It's not the event. It's not the result. Okay? It's their simultaneity of cause and effect in every moment of every moment of every day, right? So it's really about what effect that has on the future, on future this moments as they occur. You know, it's not something that can be defined by some divine wisdom looking down and saying, oh, you think that's good for you, but it's not. Because it's not up to anybody else other than the individual experiencing it to utilize it in their life in whatever manner they may. That's really cold, excuse me.
What is your question? How to determine?
How do you know what is benefiting and what is not?
So, in other words, my point is that, there's a tradition of getting guidance from people in the SGI, all right? And that's always supposed to be guidance in faith. Quite often, it kind of goes sideways to guidance in action, guidance in decision, guidance almost in trying to dictate or manipulate a circumstance for somebody like they know more than the person that is experiencing the difficulty. If the person experiencing the difficulty is not expressly asking to volunteer this kind of solution or this kind of solution, is really not what guidance is for. Guidance is to understand the circumstance and to allow the person to be able to address it with the Gohonzon personally in the most beneficial manner. Okay? So it's not about, you can't get into event kind of analysis, because what could seem like a good thing today could end up being not such a good thing in 5 years. And what seemed like a terrible thing today could end up being a treasure.
So can you say that everything is benefit? Life itself is a benefit.
Each moment is a benefit that allows us to uncover to ourselves and to others the power of the Gohonzon and to create a reflection of correct practice and faith. Correct practice and faith isn't necessarily to follow every single guidance. I don't know how many people here have you all always followed whatever guidance you were given by your seniors in faith?
Not only that, to define what's benefit and what's not. It's really...
That was an objective question by him. I don't know if that has anything to do with the circumstance.
Oh.
I'm asking a circumstantial question just to get an understanding of everybody's experience. Do you always follow all the guidance that you get? Have you always followed guidance every time you receive guidance? I have not.
No.
Okay, there have been times when I followed guidance and it didn't work out at all. And somebody was transposing their values and their experiential understanding of life, who were 20 or 30 years older than me, that were from a different culture than me, a much more conservative culture than me, and they tried to fit my size 8 foot in their size 7 shoe. Okay, and it didn't work out. It didn't work out. I followed the guidance, and it didn't work out.
You mean the guidance like taught you how to do and
Yeah. Again, people. Again, it's been a long time since I've been in a circumstance where I was even involved in the organization to such a level that I would go seek an answer from someone else. The person the entity that I seek answers from is the entity of the law and the Gohonzon. You know, through the direction that I'm given by reading and studying the teaching and the understanding that President Ikeda tries to share with everyone. That's, again, based on the verticality of his own life. You know, when he discusses the mentor-disciple relationship, that's why he circumvents everybody in talking about the mentor and the disciple. You know, he never calls himself the mentor, but he constantly describes the mentor as an individual that's doing pretty much exactly what he's doing, okay? So it's up to each of us in the unique path of our own growth and experience. And it is a unique path. We're all different. All right? But we all have the one thing in common. We're bodhisattvas of the earth. And faith in the Gohonzon is what's going to reveal and carry us forward with wisdom. Okay? So to receive guidance and to not chant about it is talking. To give guidance and not chant before you give it is just talking. This is really the key. Okay? Correct faith is to constantly utilize the Gohonzon in this process, not to necessarily just listen to someone else's divine understanding and wisdom. You know, just because a person is older than you doesn't mean that they necessarily understand a circumstance more correctly, because they're no longer generationally in the environment that creates that circumstance. So there's already a certain amount of supposition. They're trying to engage in reaching you with their encouragement. The only thing that will validate their experience to your circumstance is your daimoku. Okay? Because if you're not carrying it back to the Gohonzon, there was no reason to even ask the question or be given that input. Do you understand? It's all about correctly perceiving a path forward to utilize the power in your life. You're the Buddha. Every single individual is the Buddha. The junior member is just as much the Buddha as the senior member. Okay? The new practitioner is just as much the Buddha as the old practitioner. The key is that working together for the sake of Kosen Rufa, we're the body of believers. Okay? And that should be the purpose and the function of why we communicate and encourage one another. It's really not about providing solutions on a top-down basis. That's really not the function of the organization. Sometimes that's what it kind of migrates to. In my experience, in the past, I've seen that. Okay? Because I'm already at a point in time where I don't get guidance from anybody else. I mean, I put that on the table. I haven't for years. Okay? Does that make me a bad person? Does that mean that I'm practicing incorrectly? It's like, no, I can't find enough people around that I can really ask questions that I can't ascertain myself, because I do so much reading and I listen to President Ikeda, and then I chant. This is really the key.
Yeah.
That's why I kept saying, you know, if you want to be an ATM, it doesn't come from reading. It's really the daimoku that's based on what you've read. That's what reveals the truth to you in a way that it inspires, it has the potential to correctly inspire other people. All right? So I don't know if that answers your question. But again, it's not up to anyone other than the person experiencing the circumstance that's at the center of this point. That has the capacity to determine benefit or not benefit. That's not something that somebody else has any right or access to be able to determine. You know, even if they've seen it not work this way and it works this way, again, you never know. You don't know. No one has that capacity.
Right.
All right? Unless you're
Makes
a sage.
sense.
Now, if you've achieved sage, the point of being able to perceive cause and effect, that correctly, then that's what Nichiren's talking about when he talks about a sage. You know? So, that's what I wanted to say. I wanted to be clear about when I say things that might sound like they're politically slanted one way or the other. Those perspectives are all objective. Those are always up to each of us to have those opinions. I mean, Steve, for instance, is a very, very Republican guy, and I'm a very, very Democrat guy. Yet when it comes to faith, we're right there together. Okay? So it's that circumstance. You know, we should never be able to be divided by political or geographic kinds of circumstances. We should always have enough compassion for one another to try and understand and perceive that. So, I've now said that so I feel more comfortable, because I worried all week I might have offended somebody, and I don't want to ever offend anybody by expressing myself so naturally and without hesitation as I try to create analogies so that we're all understanding what we're saying. Where are we? Because I don't even know. Do we finish Be as Majestic as the Himalayas? We got that far, right?
Yes.
Okay, so then we're gonna now we're actually, there's a whole verse section here. That's Gongyo. I'm not gonna repeat that. There's no real reason to. We skip on to 29. Oh, good. I did get all the way into 30. All right, I'm a little.
So 29.
29 on page 309. Does anybody have any question or any comment based on what I just said? Do y'all understand where it's coming from?
Makes sense.
Huh?
Makes sense.
Well, it's again, the unity of this group is paramount. There can never be anything that divides us, ever. And I don't think there ever will be, as long as we're all candid with each other. So I just want to make sure that we're all understanding where I'm coming from when I speak. All right. So we start Jiga Tokuburai, huh? On chapter 29. Jiga Tokuburai Shokyo Shokoshu Muryo Yakusen Mano Kasaya Zogi Josepo Kyoke Mushu Okushujo Ronyu Obutsuro Nirai Muryo Ko. Since, and the Romaji translates too, since I attained Buddhahood, the number of kalpas that have passed is an immeasurable hundreds, thousands, 10,000s, millions, trillions. Oh, they say trillions. Asamyaks. Constantly, I have preached the law, teaching and converting countless millions of living beings, causing them to enter the Buddha way. All this for immeasurable kalpas. All right? Continuing. As I have mentioned, President Ikeda is saying, as I have mentioned, the verse section of the lifespan chapter explains matters pertaining to the Buddha himself. However, President Toda made it a point to stress that the text can be read in two ways. As I've told you many times, from a literal standpoint, since I attained Buddhahood means since Shakyamuni became a Buddha. But a more profound meaning is found hidden in the depths of the text. Yes. So the more profound meaning hidden in the depths is referring to Buddhism of the sowing, Nichiren's Buddhism, Nichiren's interpretation and clarification and revealing of the law in the latter day. Regarding attained Buddhahood, my mentor taught, the state of Buddhahood is not something that comes to us from without. Rather, this passage clearly describes the function of the Buddha that bounds forth from within our own lives. Now, did you notice anything about that paragraph? Or what he started out here as an explanation? What's his source? The Soka philosophy created by the first three presidents of the Soka Gakkai. Because you would not be taught that by Nichiren Shoshu. All right? Because he's going to go in, let's read it again. Regarding attained Buddhahood, my mentor taught. Why is he referring to Josei Toda rather than some other source? Because the Buddhism that Daisaku Ikeda practices and that has been propagated as the lineage of the Soka Gakkai is a differentiated perception and understanding based on the teachings that go from Nichikan up. All right? So he's the source of this teaching that he's sharing with us as the mentor actually comes from his mentor. It doesn't come from some other source of religiosity. It's not from the priesthood. Okay? It's not from any other predication of divine text. And again, understand that President Toda was basing it on a perceived perception that was very personalized that occurred to him while he was in prison. That was based on the correct faith that he had been able to glean from watching President Makaguchi. Yes. So President Makaguchi understood things that he then started to embellish at a lay level. All right? That became the kind of the thrust of the Soka philosophy. Then President Toda actually taught a perception and understanding that was diverse from the hierarchical perspective that had been taught in the priesthood. Okay, do you understand? And then President Toda has taken that a step further. And that's what we have to be careful about, because all of this is based on the Buddhism of sowing. This is not a departure from the Gosho. This is a clarified understanding from the perspective that Nichiren taught, from the breadth of his teaching, not from an individual reference source. Do you understand? We are all the Buddha exactly as we are. Now, many of you practiced for years and years and years. That was never emphasized to you. Okay, that's been emphasized to you to a great deal, I would expect from me. That's coming from what I'm reading from President Ikeda and what I already knew to be true, but I didn't have a source to corroborate it. Now he's writing, so I have a source to corroborate my perspective. But that perspective is mine vertically. I didn't get it from him. Okay, I got it from the teaching itself. I got it from the path that my mentors put me onto. All right? So everybody that listens to what I'm saying, again, what I'm saying is I should be saying my mentor taught me, just like President Ikeda is, to clarify it. Okay? This isn't something that Tom's making up. All right? Regarding attained Buddhahood, President Toda taught, the state of Buddhahood is not something that comes to us from without. Rather, this passage clearly describes the function of the Buddha that bounds forth from within our own lives. How could he make that comment? He couldn't unless he experienced it himself. And that's the point. Not everybody gets the opportunity to experience this and perceive it and understand it in the way that it actually exists. Okay? That's the premise of the mentor-disciple relationship. The mentor is passing on the truth as they have experienced. Not as they are made up on their own. It's for the purpose of the advancement of the person being taught. All right? In other words, this passage's literal meaning refutes the view that Shakyamuni first attained enlightenment during his lifetime in India. It clarifies that he, in fact, attained Buddhahood in the remote past, reiterating the teaching articulated earlier in the chapter that the Buddha's life is eternal and not separated from your own. But from the standpoint of its implicit meaning, what does implicit meaning mean? Hidden in the depths, okay? This passage teaches that all people's lives are eternally endowed with the Buddha's three bodies. Now, unless that's just BS or only a circumstance of being theoretical, somebody had to experience it for the sake of its validation to encourage another to follow and to also experience it. Do you understand? That's what Buddhahood is. The Buddha nature already exists in all things. It's the teacher that allows that to come forth by revealing it to the person being taught to perceive it, to give them the opportunity to perceive it correctly. Do you follow? Do you understand what I'm saying? All right, so again, Nichiren indicates that this passage refers to the three bodies of a Buddha. This passage elucidates the three bodies. I didn't skip that. Okay, this passage elucidates the three bodies that are the fundamental life of the Buddha, and it indicates that since the beginningless past, our lives too have been endowed with these three bodies. All right, so immediately we're included in this paragraph. Us, the common mortals that are sitting around this table that are really Buddhas. This is the meaning of the passage in Nichiren Buddhism. That's a declarative by Daisaku Ikeda, based on the understanding that he's been able to ascertain in his life through action. He didn't just sit around and listen to President Toda and then parrot and regurgitate. Okay? He took action based on that teaching and revealed in his own life a truth that he could share from the depth of his life. Not as something that's just passed on, but something that originates within one's life, just as it will for each of you. That's my point. No one else has the authority to reveal that. No one else has the capacity to reveal that. You're the only one as an individual that can reveal that as it relates to your own life. Also, as expounded in the Lifespan chapter, both the world of Buddhahood and the 9 worlds are inherent and simultaneously present in life. Nichiren interprets "since I attained Buddhahood" as meaning it is saying that these 10 worlds are part of the makeup of a Buddha with his eternally endowed 3 bodies. From the standpoint of the passage's implicit meaning, the Buddha who attained enlightenment in the remote past did not become a Buddha by having eradicated the 9 worlds. Rather, that's the key word in the paragraph above, is the simultaneity. It's simultaneously 9 worlds and 10th world, right? Simultaneously means at the same time. So they are never actually separate. All right? He's saying, it is saying that these 10 worlds are part of the makeup of a Buddha with his eternally endowed 3 bodies. From the standpoint of the passage's implicit meaning, the Buddha who attained enlightenment in the remote past did not become a Buddha by having eradicated the 9 worlds. Rather, the Buddha simultaneously possesses both the 9 worlds and the world of Buddhahood. This is called being eternally endowed with the 10 worlds. If your life is eternal, and then then the 9 worlds is eternal. All right, the 10th world is also eternal. Okay, so you have always possessed the 3 bodies of the Buddha. That's what makes you able to manifest Buddhahood in your present form.
Yes.
All right? So, eternally endowed with means originally or inherently possessing. It means it's been there from the very beginning. It was never acquired. It describes the original essence of life that was not worked for, that was not improved upon, but that exists just as it always has. What's that also the definition of? If you went to the OTT, does that strike a memory of what that quote's from? What's he really talking about? What's the subject he's talking about when he puts out that description that President Ikeda has just attributed to this passage? He's talking about kuon. Kuon means something that was not worked for, that was not improved upon, but that exists just as it always has. Beginningless. Beginningless existence. Eternal. All right? This is also termed This is also termed beginningless time or uncreated, which is kuon. It is the original and true aspect of life just as it is. Everybody's with me?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
All right, so then, to manifest the essence of life that exists just as it is means to develop and use fully the power inherent in our lives. What does that mean? To be the Buddha means that you are using and developing the power that's inherent in your life. That you're not that is not being created, that you're not acquiring from some sort of a relationship with a mentor. The mentor is revealing what already exists. You're not gaining access to something that has been created. Do you understand? To manifest the essence of life that exists just as it is means to develop and use fully the power inherent in our lives. It means to be the Buddha. To illustrate, soon after a severe winter, fresh young shoots emerge. The tender new sprouts grow at a frantic pace and glisten in the morning sunlight. There is nothing the least bit tentative in their appearance. They're not timid. They're not playing around. Each moment they live life to the fullest. Can you imagine? You think of one of those time-lapse photographies of a sprout coming up out of the earth. Okay? They're not fooling around. There's real intense intent in growth, in surviving. To illustrate, soon after a severe winter, when the ground has been laid bare by the adverse weather, it's soil, there's nothing green coming out of it. The tender, fresh new shoots emerge. Always. Spring always follows winter, right?
Right.
Winter is always followed by spring. The tender new sprouts grow at a frantic pace and glisten in the morning sunlight. They gain the energy of the sun. They remanifest. Their life is eternal. They've been there before. They're able to remanifest as new life because they've already existed before. All life is the same way. It's not limited to human beings. The animals, the plants, the environment that they all are nourished by. It's all the same. It's never separated. It's inseparable. There is nothing the least bit tentative in their appearance. They are not timid. They are not playing around. Each moment they live life to the fullest. They certainly aren't stubborn or inflexible. Through and through they live life they live true to themselves. As a result, they shine and achieve a marvelous harmony with everything around them. This is the wonder of the natural environment. This is the condition of life that the French author Romain Rolland describes as when he writes, "I have gained my own fulfillment. I have won mastery over myself." What possession could compare to this? What's more, we who have encountered the mystic law can open up our original selves and make our lives shine eternally. What a tremendous privilege this is. How truly fortunate we are. I will never forget President Toda lecturing on this passage. It was a truly great lecture. All of you circle the characters Ji, self, and Toku, attained, Mr. Toda said, his slightly hoarse voice resounding through the room. Everyone circled the two characters with their pencils. Some had looks of fascination and others looked perplexed, their expressions seeming to say, "What are you having us do? Why are you having us do this?" President Toda gazed about the room, taking in everyone's reaction. Then he continued, "When we put these two words together, we get self-attained." Okay? Do you understand what he's really kind of saying there? Is Buddhahood ever a process of the mentor bestowing it upon the disciple? No. It's self-attainment. That's what I've been saying over and over and over again. It's self-attainment. It's your karma. It's your actions that have created that karma that allow you to reveal and perceive the truth of your original state. When we put these two words together, we get self-attained, Jitoku, and what is left over is I, the Buddha, come. Gaburai, I, Ga, indicates the Dharma body. Buddha, the reward body, and come, the manifested body. In other words, these stand for the Buddha's three bodies. So the implicit meaning of Ji-Ga Toku-Burai is to attain on one's own the three bodies of the Buddha. More specifically, to reveal the three bodies of the Buddha that have always existed, that were never worked for, were not improved upon, but existed as always has. Buddha is Buddha is Buddha. There's not higher Buddha and lower Buddha. Okay? We attain on our own the Buddha's three bodies. First paragraph of page 312. We attain on our own the Buddha's three bodies. When we heard this, everyone was taken aback. In the phrase Ji-Ga Toku-Burai, which we had read many times without clearly understanding, the two characters Ji and Toku now stood out conspicuously. He thus taught that Buddhahood is a state of life we achieve from within. It's not something we're indoctrinated to perceive. It's something that is revealed from within. What is unique, or what qualifies that then?
We are all Buddha.
You can only get it from chanting Nam Myoho Renge Kyo. Okay? It doesn't come from words. It comes from the relationship with the original teacher. That's how you divide. That's how you manifest your original state. You have to seek it. If you idly kind of hang out, wait for something to happen, you're going to wait a long time. And the Gohonzon will eventually force you into a life circumstance where you have to qualify, why did I experience what I'm experiencing? I should be experiencing something differently. That then will lead you. If you keep seeking, if you never give up, you'll always come back to this. No matter what's preceded that point. You'll always come back to this. That's why we all have different missions. We are all going to relate to different people with different qualifications and qualities. All right? So it has to be a very broad understanding of self-realization, so that self-realization can be the prime point, can be understood as the prime point. I'm not the mentor, so I know shit everybody's got to be taught. That's not it. It's how to inspire, to reveal what already exists. But the only way it can be revealed is by the individual that you're encouraging. It has to be revealed by them from within their life. It's not something you can just give them. All right? He thus taught that Buddhahood is a state of life we achieve from within, that Buddhahood inherently exists within our own lives, and the participants could fully grasp his meaning. All right, is everybody clear? I've stopped a couple of times. Everybody's with me. All right.
Yes.
Pervading President Toda's lecture was his sincere wish to teach us that all people are originally Buddhas, that ordinary people who chant the mystic law are Buddhas, exactly as they are. Not after they've perfected themselves, not after they passed a bunch of SGI tests or exams, or not after they received a certain level of authority or position.
Leader.
Do you understand?
Yes.
All right. This is the truth.
Yeah.
This is why we have the mentor-disciple relationship, so that this can't get twisted up.
Right.
So that we're receiving it directly from President Toda, through President Ikeda,
Yeah.
through the truth of the Buddha. One Buddha to another Buddha to another Buddha. You the Buddha. Get it?
Yes.
All right. We're all Buddhas. This was also Nichiren's spirit. Again, that's the unique thing about the Soka Gakkai. I shouldn't say the Soka Gakkai. That's the unique thing about those first three presidents. They correctly perceived the Daishonin's truth. All right? This was also Nichiren's spirit. His free and non-dogmatic, keyword, non-dogmatic, not predicated on a bunch of, preceding ritual or generational inflexible understanding. It's not non-dogmatic. Interpretations of the Lotus Sutra. Is the Lotus Sutra, is the Buddhism of the sowing based on the surface? No, it's implicit, right? That means that it's an interpretation. Understand that. You can't qualify it any other way. That's how the people that attack it. Who says it's this way? Nichiren says it's this way. All right? This was also Nichiren's spirit, his free and non-dogmatic interpretations of the Lotus Sutra in the record of the orally transmitted teachings, from the standpoint of the revitalization of the human being, is truly the crystallization of his immense compassion. Who embraces the OTT? Everybody that chants Nam-myoho Renge Kyo? No. Only those that are in the lineage of Nikko Nikko. All right? And again, the correct perception of that was not really understood and perceived and expressed until Nichikan perceived and expressed the truth of the Daishonin's life in the form of a doctrine. Do you understand? So all those other schools, if I'm Nichiren's Shu, if I'm Kempon Hoke Shu, or if I'm anything other than that, I'm chanting Nam-myoho Renge Kyo. But do I perceive what we're discussing here? No, it's not even in the teaching. I'm still looking at Buddhism of the harvest. I'm not even perceiving a Buddhism of the sowing. I'm looking at attaining Buddhahood in the future at some point in time that I've received perfection, thanks to the mercy and compassion of the priesthood that allows me to have access, that creates dogma that I must follow strictly as a precept. Do you understand? Mm-hmm. What's he also saying here in the same breath? There are no precepts. There are no etched in stone. This is it. This is the only way, because time will constantly evolve, so that the wisdom of the Lotus Sutra is what's got to be passed on, not some dogmatic, rigid, inflexible, never-changing understanding, because the environment will always change, life will always change, society will change. How the truth is to be conveyed correctly will constantly be in process of revolution. Understand? So, let us now turn again to the three bodies. The Dharma body is the mystic law itself. Everybody understands that, right? The eternal and unchanging truth. Everybody understands what he's saying there, right? Since this is the true essence of the self, it corresponds to the Ga, self or I, in Ji Ga Burai. The reward body is the Buddha's wisdom to awaken to the mystic law. And the benefit and virtue with which a Buddha is endowed in reward for awakening to the law. Since a Buddha is someone awakened to his or her original self, how did he just qualify what a Buddha is? A Buddha is someone awakened to his or her original self. That perception, to be able to perceive yourself as the Buddha, automatically means that you must be perceiving all others as Buddha, or you're not perceiving yourself as Buddha correctly. All right? If you perceive all things as Buddha, you've attained Buddhahood. That's a manifestation of the reward body. That wisdom, that good fortune to perceive the truth as it exists, comes from you, from your actions, from within, from your seeking spirit, from your serving the law, from your never giving up. Never giving up is what allowed you to get to that point. You never started practicing at that point. No one does. Since a Buddha is someone awakened to his or her original self, the reward body corresponds to Butsu, Buddha, which in combination with Rai means here, meaning here, to come from a place of origin, contracts to form, Burai. In other words, again, it's coming from the karmic lineage of your life, moment to moment to moment to moment to moment, that goes back eternally and will continue eternally. It has nothing to do with birth and death in a form. Do you understand? All right. The manifested body indicates the physical form of a Buddha. So do you understand why I made that differentiation? Because the reward body is not something that's tied to the manifested body. The manifested body is actually a reflection of the reward body. It's the temporary gathering of the five components. Even when you're not gathered, it's a temporary gathering of the five components. The world of Butsu always exists. The reward body always exists. Okay? Even in a state of non-substantiality, right? Okay, so the manifested body indicates the physical form a Buddha assumes in order to save the people. Why does the Buddha manifest a physical form?
To save others.
Huh?
To
It says right here. In order to save the people.
yeah.
Yeah, in order to save the people. That's why you come back into the Sahe world.
Right.
All right? Not because you're here to suffer or to be punished or to receive the retribution of your shitty karma. No, it's to reveal there's no such thing as shitty karma. That's delusion. Karma is life.
Yeah.
Life is a treasure that has no value. No value can be placed on it. It's priceless. Okay? To understand and perceive this from its correct perception is a manifestation of the reward body, which is a perception of the Dharma body. Do you understand? Okay, so it's reverse osmosis. The manifested body indicates the physical form a Buddha assumes in order to save the people. Fundamentally, such actions arise from the Buddha's compassion. Since the Buddha appears where there are people, this body corresponds to Rai, to come to save. Everybody's with me, right?
Yes.
Living at one with the eternal law, the Buddha employs boundless wisdom. Where does the Buddha derive that boundless wisdom? From the depth of their life in connection with the original teacher, their original state. All right? Chanting Daimoku. Living at one with the eternal law, the Buddha employs boundless wisdom and manifests immeasurable benefit to eternally lead all people to happiness. This Buddha who eternally leads people to enlightenment is Shakyamuni who attained enlightenment in the remote past. Nichiren Daishonin is the Buddha who attained on his own the inherent and uncreated three bodies of the Buddha. Do you understand that? Right? Because that's where the Buddhism of the sowing came from. That's what we're talking about here. Let me read it again. Living at one with the eternal law, the Buddha employs boundless wisdom and manifests immeasurable benefit to eternally lead all people to happiness. This Buddha who eternally leads people to enlightenment is Shakyamuni, who attained enlightenment in the remote past. Okay, that's the teaching on the surface of the Lotus Sutra, correct?
Right.
All right. However, the depths of the Lotus Sutra is what applies to all people, not just Shakyamuni. That's the Buddhism of the sowing. The Buddhism of the harvest doesn't apply to all people. It applies to people that have been able to be taught by the Buddha, that will perceive the Buddha's correct teaching, and that someday in a future existence, after kalpas of continuous effort, will someday achieve it. He's saying Nichiren Daishonin is the Buddha, not Shakyamuni. Nichiren Daishonin is the Buddha who attained on his own the inherent and uncreated three bodies of the Buddha. Shakyamuni says, hey, I'm the 16th son of great universal wisdom excellence, yada, 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 yada. The whole Buddhism of the sowing harvest is a whole delineation of existences that were compounded upon existences that allowed him to finally get to the ceremony in the air, in the Sahe world, right? Right? Nichiren is the one that interprets all of this and perceives the three bodies inherent in life itself.
Yes.
The three bodies represent the inherent power to enjoy one's existence to the fullest and lead others to happiness through the mystic law. That's what Nichiren's teaching is. To awaken to the true self that yearns for the happiness of oneself and others, that's true self. If it's only happiness for oneself, that's not true self. True self is the Buddha. True self perceives the inseparability between all things, that there is no separate happiness for you and happiness for others, that they're both combined. You still bored? Catherine?
No.
Okay. The three bodies, I'll start the paragraph again. The three bodies represent the inherent power to enjoy one's existence to the fullest and lead others to happiness through the mystic law. To awaken to the true self. To awaken to the true self. That yearns for happiness of oneself and others is the greatest of all joys and the greatest peace of mind. That is to be the Buddha. The record of the orally transmitted teachings explains that we who follow the Daishonin are Buddhas, originally possessing the three bodies. He then goes into the quotation, now when Nichiren and his followers chant Nam-myoho Renge-kyo, they are acting as votaries of these words, since I attained Buddhahood. When we chant Daimoku and practice for ourselves and others, we can attain the three bodies inherent in our lives. Inherent, which means we don't really attain them, we reveal them. We can realize, we can come to perceive the truth that is the same state as the life as Nichiren. Okay? Does he put a hierarchical separation between us and Nichiren? No. Why?
We understand.
Because Nichiren didn't put a hierarchical separation between himself and his disciples. That's because that's the teaching. That's the teaching of the OTT. All right? When we chant Daimoku and practice for ourselves and others, we can attain the three bodies, reveal the three bodies inherent in our lives. We can realize the same state of life as Nichiren. We can enjoy the same Buddhahood that he did. The three bodies become manifest in the lives of those who fight against adversity and struggle for Kosen Rufu as bodhisattvas of the earth. All right? Not as members of a lay organization. It's by virtue of your action, not your membership. It's the truth. Why do you think he's writing it here? So that there can be no mistake about it. You don't have to listen to me and wonder about whether or not I know what the hell I'm talking about. You know, you can get it straight from the man. I'll say it again. When we chant Daimoku and practice for ourselves and others, we can attain the three bodies inherent in our lives. We can realize the same state of life as Nichiren. The three bodies become manifest in the lives of those who fight against adversity and struggle for Kosen Rufu as bodhisattvas of the earth. Why does fight against adversity have to be in there? When we're doing all that, why are we having to fight against adversity? Everything we chant about should happen, right? It's like magic, right? No, because if you're going to bring out the three bodies, you're going to face adversity. Okay? So unless you struggle to overcome it, you're never going to reveal the truth that you are the Buddha. You're going to be defeated, and you're going to actually present an example that's the antithesis of the truth. Do you understand? Mm-hmm. So you got to be fighters. You can't be timid, like the young shoots. You can't be fooling around. That's what he's saying. That's what he's expressing here for you to try and grasp. And struggle for Kosen Rufu as bodhisattvas of the earth. What's he mean by that? That means you perceive yourself as a bodhisattva of the earth. Your gig, your life, you have a vow. You have a purpose. You have a function. You're not just some miscellaneous, extraneous manifestation of a life form. You're here for a reason. You're here to reveal that you are the Buddha and everyone else is as well. That's the purpose of your life. That's the vow. That's why the adversity is there for you to struggle against, in order to demonstrate the power that exists within your life that other people can tap into on their own. When friends suffer, we cannot stand by doing nothing, even when we're exhausted, even when we're too tired, even when we have our own personal crises to attend to. We have to be there for them. We promised we would. Okay? We're the Buddha. We can if we'll just give ourselves the ability to show that to ourselves. Suddenly energy will be there. Suddenly clarity will be there. If our head's screwed on straight, there's nothing that we can't overcome. There's nothing that we can't encourage people to back to the prime point. You get in front of the Gohonzon and self-attain. Self-attain. All right? When friends suffer, we cannot stand by doing nothing. We cannot pretend not to notice. We take action for those around us, even to the point of forgetting about our own immediate difficulties. The SGI is a gathering of such heroes of the people. This was certainly evident in our fellow members' actions in Kansai at the time of the great Hanshin earthquake in 1995. Defeat is unthinkable. This was their spirit. Everyone was faced with calamitous circumstances, but they took action, wringing out every ounce of strength. Their actions, words, and gestures of encouragement brought hope and courage to countless others. Members sincerely turned to the Gohonzon to chant Nam-myoho Renge-kyo for suffering friends, even forgetting the passage of time. They didn't go to the Gohonzon and go, why the hell has this happened to us? We're all chanting. No. No. All right? And on seeing friends' agonized faces, they offered them words imbued with confidence and courage. It's going to be all right. We can definitely overcome this. The members were not directed to do this by anyone, nor, for that matter, on the orders of someone else. Could people be expected to exert themselves so tirelessly? Do you understand? Unless it's self-attained. There's no way anybody can get that out of you. When we are caught up in what others think, in formality or appearances, we cannot manifest the power eternally inherent in our lives. That's a declarative statement. Let me repeat it again. Please take it to heart. When we are caught up in what others think, okay, then we become a social organization. Mm-hmm. In formality, that's dogma, which he's just rejected in the previous paragraphs, in which he's qualified that Daishonin did as well, and that's the basis of the Buddhism of the Soen. Or appearances. We care about what people think about what we're saying or doing, more importantly than whether what we're doing and saying is correct. We're influenced by the wrong things instead of the right things. We cannot manifest the power eternally inherent in our lives. We cannot manifest our Buddha nature. Because the devil of the sixth heaven is winning at that point in time.
Yes.
We've been subdued into bullshit rather than truth. Mm-hmm. All right? But we can manifest such power when we earnestly dedicate ourselves. That means as individuals, regardless of what anybody thinks, what anybody else is doing. Because of our daimoku, we're driven by the truth that becomes apparent to us through faith. All right? But we can manifest such power when we earnestly dedicate ourselves to others and to Kosen Rufu. The Buddha, originally endowed with the three bodies, the limitless power inherent in life, vibrantly manifests in the person of such spirit, single-minded determination and action. The Buddha, originally endowed with the three bodies, the limitless power inherent in life, vibrantly manifests in a person of such spirit, single-minded determination and action. Because what is that person living as? The Buddha. In whom could the Buddha possibly appear? If not, in whom could the Buddha possibly appear if not in such a person? Question. Couldn't be. Where else does the Buddha exist if not if not in that kind of a valiant effort and life? All right? Just whom could the Buddha endowed with the three bodies possibly indicate? It is our lives that the passage of the record of the orally transmitted teachings describes. If in a single moment of life, if in a single moment of life we exhaust the pains and trials of millions of kalpas, then instant after instant there will arise in us the three bodies, the three Buddha bodies with which we are eternally endowed. I mean, it seems like we come to that quote every week. Chapter 15, OTT. We ourselves can manifest the eternally inherent three bodies, the vast state of life of the Buddha. This is the state of life seldom attained, even when sought. I'll say it again. This is the state of life seldom attained, even when sought. A state of life so grand that the very idea of seeking it rarely even occurs to people, because they don't view the Buddha as something that's an attainable point of as they exist in this moment. They think it's something outside of them. It's a perfection. Through the single word faith, through steadfastly embracing the mystic law. What's that? Chanting Daimoku to the Gohonzon. We can attain Buddhahood on our own. Because it's the only way it can be attained. On our own. The Buddhahood with which we are inherently endowed. As the sutra says, the cluster of unsurpassed jewels has come to us unsought. So while certain people might freak out when I say, I really don't get guidance from anybody anymore. That's why I don't. I'll say it again without feeling arrogant at all. Because President Ikeda just said it for me. He just said, Tom can do this. Tom can do this. Didn't he? Isn't that what those words say? And so can you. I'll say it again. In fact, he's already said, you can only do it this way. We ourselves can manifest the eternally inherent three bodies, the vast state of life of the Buddha. This is a state of life seldom attained, even when sought. A state of life so grand that the very idea of seeking it rarely even occurs to people. Because they don't read the Gosho. They don't read that Nichiren says it over and over and over again. This is attainment of Buddhahood in your present form. This is attainment of Buddhahood in your present form. He defines it over and over again as being nothing more than the realization that you are. Everybody puts some sort of extracurricular, super hierarchical process in there. It's not in the Gosho. But you got to read the Gosho to know that. Okay? He's saying, through this single word of faith, through steadfastly embracing the mystic law. That's what reading the Gosho and chanting Daimoku about what you're perceiving is. We can attain Buddhahood on our own. The Buddhahood with which we are inherently endowed, because it was always there. We just had to uncover it. As the sutra says, this cluster of unsurpassed jewels has come to us unsought. Because it's not where we start when we start practicing. When we start practicing, we want benefits. Okay? We want our problems solved, and we want to have no problems. Okay? Only through this process does the cluster of unsurpassed jewels come to you unsought, because it's the manifestation of the reward body. Okay? In our hearts we possess this supreme treasure, the courage to face any difficulty, boundless hope, burning passion, and inexhaustible wisdom. All of these are facets of the originally inherent jewel in our lives. Those who forge ahead in faith with this confidence are Buddhas. Declarative. Period. As far as Daisaku Ikeda is concerned, that's the deal, guys. Their lives turn into clusters of unsurpassed jewels. In lifetime after lifetime and world after world, they are people of wealth and influence, leading lives of great fulfillment. Ultimately, Buddhahood is attained on one's own, not through someone else. It is something we achieve through our own efforts. Through faith in the mystic law, we can definitely manifest the great state of absolute freedom of the eternal and undying self. This is the essence of the verse section and the conclusion of the lifespan chapter puts forth. And this is what I've been saying to you for 7-8 years, essentially. Would you not agree? That's the point I've been making over and over and over again. Thank you, Daisaku Ikeda, for qualifying it in no uncertain terms. And I'm sorry we've run out of time because I'm really wired up now. I'm not tired at all. I wish I could go on because it only gets better. So until next week.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.